welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Kassi and I'm your host, and Fiber Spider tagged me to do the 23 non-yarny things about you. This is a meme or a questionnaire. Maybe some of you that are my age would recognize the term chain letter that has been going around in the crochet and knitting and yarn community. And it's basically 23 questions that are kind of get to know you better. I'm a little bit nervous. There's a lot of you and you guys are kind of intimidating. So, and you know, I want you to like me. So just keep in mind that, you know, even though that, I'm also going to totally be myself. So you're going to get Kassi. Alright? So at the end of this recording, I am going to be tagging some other channels. Fiber Spider went ahead and tagged a few other people besides me, like Bago Day, because like I'm totally in her league, right? Sorry, I'm like fangirling like a bit. I just tagged some people that I knew hadn't done it yet as of yesterday, okay? So gotta keep that in mind. That said, I'm going to answer these questions. Number one, favorite color. So my favorite color is yellow. It's pale yellow. You might want to call it a pastel yellow. I even like it even paler than that though. I don't mind the more bright sunshiny yellow either. Now I think the color like mustard or school bus yellow, that has its place. Like in autumnal colors and stuff like that, but the yellow that's my favorite color is a very pale yellow. I don't necessarily wear it or decorate my house with it or anything like that. It's just such a nice warm color. I love it. Alright, favorite genre of music. Favorite genre of music is either electronica or cinematic. And when I say cinematic, yes, I'm including scores, like by Hans Zimmer and, like, I don't know, John Williams is well known, and Danny Elfman, for example. Not just scores of music, but I mean music that has a cinematic flair, like it's got orchestral stuff in it. So, for example, a really good example of a combination of electronica and cinematic is Sigur Rós. Okay, so I really like Sigur Rós. Some electronica bands that I really like Emancipator's one that I've been listening to a lot lately, and to give you some examples of cinematic music that's a little bit more popular, for example, Lana Del Rey has a lot of orchestral music in her music, and like The National even. And another good blend of the two is Pulp with Jarvis Cocker in it. Okay. My favorite food. My favorite food is, there's an American restaurant, it's a chain, a lot of you probably have heard of it, it's called Chili's. My favorite food is Southwestern egg rolls from Chili's. I think it's the perfect combination of spicy and not spicy, and like crunchy and not crunchy. I like to dip them in the avocado ranch sauce and then put lettuce on top of that and eat it that way. So it's like a very particular way that I eat it, but I love the Southwest egg rolls. Okay, so next, my favorite soda. I like the full flavor Coca-Cola. That is definitely my favorite soda, but I do not drink soda very often anymore, or at least the full flavor soda. So a very close second would be Diet Dr. Pepper. That's my go-to soda. If I'm gonna have soda, I may as well have diet soda. That's kind of like my thinking, so yeah. Favorite animal? My cat. That's my favorite animal. I'm looking over him, he's sleeping. I have a really kind of almost mystical relationship with the animals that I like. For example, deer. I have a really huge fondness for deer, especially the does. It seems like they are very observant, very alert, and they're so graceful and intelligent. Oh my goodness. I really find them almost magical creatures when I see them. And then, in addition to a favorite animal, I also have a favorite bird, which is the blue heron. I really love blue herons. I think they look like dinosaurs, and every time I see them, it's like, wow! oh my gosh, those look so cool. You know, it looks like it came out of a different time, you know. But deer are special too. I mean, I could not pick between those two. But if I had to say favorite animal, like, of all the animals, what's my favorite specific animal, that would be my cat. Because he's really sweet. Okay, so number 6, favorite holiday. My favorite, it's very hard to pick a favorite holiday because my favorite holiday would probably be something just on like the agricultural year. I really, really like fall festivals and stuff like that, and harvest festivals, stuff like that, you know, because I think about like everything involved in the celebration, right? But the one that's closest to it would probably be Thanksgiving for the food. I just love that. I love the savory food at Thanksgiving. It's a really nice time of year for me. Not necessarily the sentiment behind it, but you know, my parents always had big Thanksgivings growing up, and so there's also the family ties to that and as well. So that would be my favorite holiday. My favorite book or series of books is like, this is an impossible question, okay, because I read so much. Like last year I read 60 books, and most years I read at least 50. So having to pick a favorite book is really, really tough. And I thought about this a lot. So I was like thinking about it in different ways. Like, the first book that really instilled that love of reading in me was Bambi by Felix Salten. And a lot of people have a understanding of Bambi from the Disney version, which is fine, but it's nothing like that. The book is nothing like that. The book was actually banned in Nazi Germany. Of course, it is a parable, and it is told through the perspective of forest animals and all of that. But anyway, it's basically about a deer who, well, he's trying to wrestle with the different forces that are out of his control and in his control, and he's trying to figure out what the difference between those two things are. And it has a really heavy-hitting ending, and it's one that a young child could get, you know. It's not like, but I would not call it a simple book at all. I've reread that many, many times in my adult life. It seems like I always get something out of it when I read it. So Bambi was like the first book that really touched me. But then after that, I'm just trying to think, like, my favorite book ever is probably The Count of Monte Cristo. I really, really like literary works. So The Count of Monte Cristo is, I mean, it's big, it has so many lessons in it. It shows humanity, like, it shows so many different sides of humanity and the way people interact with people, the way people communicate with one another and not communicate with one another, and all of that kind of stuff. I think it's just, like, such an amazing book. But other books that I like are like The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. That's more of a philosophical book. I have a special place in my heart for Juliette de Marillier, who wrote Daughter of the Forest, which is, I would say it's got a lot of trigger warnings, but she basically writes a lot of adult fairy tales, or she'll take fairy tales and she'll retell them for an adult. And she's just amazing. She kind of like reaches into the unconscious of man and brings it out, you know, through these like very archetypal characters. And it's just really, sorry, I have some allergies going on right now. It's just really, really awesome the way she does it. And then the other book that I wanted to mention is The Memoirs of Cleopatra by Margaret George. Just the way that she brings that era to life, and she populates her books with all of these very iconic figures, without it sounding like too much, you know? Like, she makes it believable somehow. I can't explain it. It's just, she brings that era to life, and she tells this story from the perspective of Cleopatra, and it is breathtaking. Most of the books that I listed are long books, but I have to say that, like, after I decided, okay, Count of Monte Cristo, that's gonna be it, I started flipping through Crime and Punishment, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a good book. So it's like, I've done my best at answering that question, okay? But I read a lot, so. Alright, that said, number 8, favorite pizza topping is green peppers. Just leave that short and sweet. Favorite pastime, reading. I love to favorite TV series. So I think this one does require a longer answer. My favorite TV series is ABC's Lost. I have not rewatched it in a while, but I have rewatched it several times. What I like about any kind of media like that, like movies and TVs and TV shows and stuff like that, is it's got to be really engaging. You know, for example, I read literary works. You know, I prefer to kind of work hard for what I'm engaging with. So Lost definitely, when it first came out, it was a completely different genre. Like it was a genre that could not really be properly explained, and the way that there was a lot of things to think about, and the way that it really kind of tugged on the unconscious mind, and the experience of watching it was so amazing to me. But other TV shows that I like are, again, shows that require you to really participate. Another one that I really like that has kind of a similar feel to it, although it's a lot more artistic, would be the OA. And again, I'm talking about the experience of watching it, not necessarily the story itself, although the story itself in both of those were really captivating. So yeah, I really like kind of artistic, kind of out there, maybe surreal, think pieces, that kind of stuff when I'm engaging with that kind of stuff, okay? So yeah, Lost would be my favorite one, but I think it's probably, again, allergies, it's probably dated at this point though, but that's gotta be it just totally changed the way I looked at media, and I had already looked at media with a very critical eye at that point, so yeah. Okay, favorite fruit. I'm gonna go ahead and say grape. I have like 10 honorable mentions, but grapes are my favorite fruit, so I'm going with that. Favorite vegetable, green peppers. I love green peppers, and when I say that, I'm talking about the bell peppers, or I know that people in Australia call them capsicums, so I'm talking about bell peppers. Favorite subject in school. I guess like in grade school it would be English. My favorite subject was English. I was always good at it. High school, I took a psychology class, and that was really, really great. But even though I took a psychology class and I ended up majoring in psychology, my favorite class in high school was literature, so you know, there it goes again. But I've always been very interested in understanding human nature, human behavior, and all of that. That's probably why I'm really into literary works, because it really dives deep into the human psyche and really explores that kind of stuff. So my literature class in high school was just such a great class, and the teacher was really invested and really amazing. Within the field of psychology, I would say psychodynamics. Anything with psychodynamics was my favorite. So, I think I've answered that one. Favorite actor and actress? Probably the most talented, based on how versatile this actress is Jennifer Lawrence, in my opinion. I think that Jennifer Lawrence is a really amazing actress. I understand that her personality outside of acting is also really likable. She's really relatable and all of that, and I appreciate that about her, but if we're just talking about the merits of acting, she's really good. I would say Jennifer Lawrence. Now, with the male actors, it's a little bit harder for me, because I have my personal favorite actor, which is Cillian Murphy, but he's not been in a whole lot of movies that are easy to access. So the actor that I like the best, who I think is objectively probably the best actor, would be Leonardo DiCaprio, for the same reason I said Jennifer Lawrence, is that he's just very versatile. He has played so many things, and he's really made it a lifetime. I mean, he's dedicated his whole life to acting, and he has taken on some pretty hard roles and had it work. And I think that that's great. I also really like Edward Norton. Him and Cillian Murphy are also just kind of like in that really small segment of like the movies they're in are so good, you know? So it's like, is it the actor or is it the movie? I don't know. But Leonardo DiCaprio is good in everything, even if it's a movie that I don't really appreciate. I can at least appreciate his acting, so. Alright, so favorite singer. I had to do a male and a female of this one too. My favorite male singer is Will Sheff. He is the lead singer for Ockerville River. Before landing on him, I was like just all over. He's himself. I think that that's probably the best way I can explain. But he's just very authentic. His voice is very authentic. So let's just leave it at that. My favorite females, I do like contraltos, and so I'm going to go with Lana Del Rey. She's got a very clear voice, and I love that. I also like Maisie Starr, as far as like kind of unique voices. But anyway, yeah, Lana Del Rey. Favorite superhero? I'm not really into superhero movies or superheroes in general, but I did like Spider-Man played by Tobey Maguire. I thought Tobey Maguire did a really good Spider-Man. I liked Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, but I mean, with that it's more like I like Robert Downey Jr. With Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I actually liked that movie, and the music with Danny Elfman and just everything about that movie was really good, except for maybe the CGI. But anyway, yeah. Favorite comedian? This is another tough one because I don't really like comedians, like stand-up comedians. The person that makes me laugh the most is Stephen Colbert. I think that he is so hilarious. I really loved him when he was on the Colbert Report, and now he's like on the Late Show, and I watch little segments of it on YouTube because I don't really have time to stay up to watch, to watch every single show and everything. I don't even think I have that channel. But I do like Stephen Colbert. I think he's funny, so he can consistently make me laugh. So there. Favorite season? Winter. I love winter. I was born December 20th, which is Midwinter Eve, and I know it's kind of like a different answer. I thought it was interesting. Bag O'Day said winter as well, so I'm not the only one. But the thing about winter is that it really, I think about how it focuses on the indwelling and how we kind of have to go inside, but it's not only we go inside, but we go inside ourselves. And it's a time of reflection. It's a time for family, especially with Christmas time around that time, and it's a time where warmth matters more. It seems like it's during the times that we struggle, the times where we have less, and the times where there are scarcities. That's the time where the human spirit can really achieve and really show what it's made of. There's a metaphor there that I'm probably trying to reach for that I can't quite reach, but there's something very inspiring with the juxtaposition of all of that bleakness and coldness, yet all of the warmth that we're able to create during that time of year. So I think that I like the poetry of winter. I also like the time of the year. I also happen to prefer cold weather as well, and I live in a southern state, so of course it doesn't get as cold. I couldn't pick a different season. Favorite movie? I'll try to make this short. Inception. Again, I like those things that make you work hard, So I like a lot of, I love the art, I love the directing. Leonardo DiCaprio and Cillian Murphy are in that movie, so obviously I like the actors. The music was done by Hans Zimmer. I mean, the whole experience of Inception is really, really amazing. I love that movie, and I think it was the last movie me and Greg saw in the theater, and we had our son, the year after that movie came out. And as an aside, our son's name is Cillian, and so it might have been related to that experience. Anyway, yeah, I love Inception. I think it's great. I think it's an amazing movie. Favorite smell? So this one's going to probably be a little bit long-winded because you guys don't understand. My relationship with the scent of smell is really complex. I have autism, okay? I am a person with autism. I feel a little ashamed. See, my eyes go down. But yeah, I have autism, and one trait of autism is sensory processing can really get a little rough. And there's a common occurring, comorbidity with autism, which is sensory processing disorder. So I have issues with certain senses, like my vestibular sense, my sense of balance. I'm the exception to you don't have to learn to ride a bike more than once or something like that, because I'm terrible at riding bikes. I can't. But I do like this is a smell. Like, it can be really, really terrible because I'm like a very sensitive person to smells, but it can also be really, really great. And my favorite scent, and this was another one I had to think about, is Vetiver. And I narrowed this down from thinking about, like, okay, I like Australian sandalwood, I like the scent of rose, like real rose, not the perfume rose, like essential oil of rose, and I like geranium, but Vetiver takes the cake. It's like the best one. So the kind of vetiver I like, vetiver is grown in Haiti. There's some other places where it will grow, but it's mostly from Haiti. I'm pretty certain. Most of the vetiver that when we smell it in perfumes or when we have essential oil, it will have come from vetiver from Haiti. And it's a kind of grass, and it's kind of a tall grass. But the vetiver is taken from the roots of the grass. So vetiver ends up smelling like freshly turned soil. It's like, but like gardener's soil that's like rich in nutrients and all of that. But it doesn't smell nasty. It smells fresh, or it smells natural. A really, really good, like the first time I smelled it, I thought that it smelled like a forest, and like it just brought all of these vivid images to my mind and everything of like being like on a trail in like maybe a natural forest somewhere, and it rained the night before, and all of the like leaves and dirt and all of the stuff on the ground is like kind of like maybe a little bit more potent than usual, but you can also smell the trees and just that fresh smell of nature. But like you can also smell the earth of the forest, just like forest earth. That's what vetiver smells like. It is such a good smell. If you guys are familiar with perfume and all of that kind of stuff, it is a base note typically, and it's used in both female and male perfumes, but I believe that it's used a little bit more often in feminine scents. It's just a great smell. That's my favorite smell. Best friend. I have one. My best friend lives in Pennsylvania. She's an author. I'm not allowed to tell her name on the channel because she's an author. Okay. But she's great. She's a really, really strong, beautiful woman. I love her so much. She really helped me out in some tough times, and it's just a joy to know her. I think that saying that she's my best friend does kind of leave that area in my mind where I'm like, but Greg's my best friend, you know? But the reason I'm saying her and not Greg is that Greg's also my partner. I mean, he's the father of my children. We've been together for almost 20 years now. And so Greg's just a fact of life. My best friend is a woman who I just love, you know, so take that as you will. All right, number 22, we're almost done. Favorite decade. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. Sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in like Victorian times, and like I can't pick a decade, but just like I even wear Victorian nightgowns to sleep in, you know, like the white cotton to the floor with the long sleeves, and yeah. So there's that, but there's a difference between like, okay, so there's an era, but I'm also really, really attracted to the time around 5 AD in Ireland. Like, I'm getting really specific, huh? When Christianity started mingling with the more nature religions, like the Druids and different pagan, you know, ideas, and that period where they mixed and they started to pull from one another and all of that. I'm not saying that my favorite decade is 5 AD because Christianity and paganism kind of had a face-off. I just mean the way that thinking about morality and spirituality was kind of transforming. I really like those in-between places where things are they're not really one thing and they're not really another thing, but they're kind of a mixture of both. I like that. And anything that I read that is set around that time period, I really appreciate it seems like. But that's still not a decade, so my favorite decade I'm gonna have to say is the 90s, but only because, you know, not because of civil rights or anything like that, because, you know, we need some work in the 90s, but because of the pre-9/11 bliss that I equate with thinking about the 90s, because before 9/11 hit, at least in my life, I didn't, like, things that couldn't happen suddenly became possible to happen, and they were scary things. So up until the 90s, I was able to kind of live in this kind of oblivion or naivete, you know, and I wasn't young when 9/11 happened. I was 20, but I was old enough for it to just really startle the way that I thought about the world. So that's one of those events that just kind of cut my life in half, and there was like everything before and then there was everything after, because it just shook me up and made me think about the world very, very differently. So I would have to say it was the 90s, because the time before 9/11 was just this kind of time for me where I just didn't have as many worries. You know, it might also be just equated that obviously I was 20 when 9/11 happened, so I was growing up, you know. I was taking on more responsibilities, so of course that was probably a very fun time in my life too as well, so that's probably another reason why I'm saying it. Right, so we're at the last question. So the question is, what's your favorite YouTube channel? So I have a prop here for you. I'm so lame, seriously. So, my favorite YouTube channel is the Behavior Panel. It's for men who are experts in human behavior from different kinds of fields. So, there's one who is really into psychodynamics and evolutionary psychology. Another one who taught in SEER school, which is he taught interrogation and resistance to interrogation training in the military. Another one is also an ex-military person who completely revolutionized the way they gather information in the military, like information. And then the other one is just kind of like one of those jack of all trades who's just kind of had a little bit, put his foot in a lot of different areas, but also has to do with gathering intelligence based on people, and the way they act and all of that. So basically they look at human behavior and they teach people how to read human behavior with critical thinking based on evidence science based stuff, okay? So it's not stuff like, oh, if you touch your nose, you're lying. In fact, they'd be the first to, you know, say, like, no, that's a myth. You know, you can have allergies, you could be talking about Pinocchio, you know, there's all sorts of stuff going on. But it's more like, think about how people are when they're around you. Are they more open or are they more closed, you know? That kind of thing. And they use principles that are universal, or, well, most of them are universal. For example, the evolutionary psychologist would be very quick to point out that when people are cold, they might go like this, they might chatter their teeth a little bit, they might get goosebumps, that kind of stuff. So it's like reading things that are like kind of instilled in humans, like the way that humans react to different stimulus, like pupils dilating and blink rates and stuff like that. But it's also paired with a lot of scientific studying. They're just amazing. I love their channel. It's great. I got into them in, around maybe August or September 2021, and I have been watching them every week ever since. They take a lot of they do a lot of cases where they take you know, some true crime stuff basically. They also do like pop culture stuff, but they even take like really bizarre things, like they have a couple of episodes where they analyze the way people talked about alien abductions to they were analyzing them for level of deception and how honest they appeared, and part of that was also indicators that they actually believed their story versus indicators that they were kind of like telling a story, that kind of thing. They even get down to the way that we use language, for example. For example, for example, using pronouns like she, or if you use that woman, you know, for example, like that woman is distancing from that person, whereas she or my wife is, you know, making that person closer to you, that kind of thing. Or like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of ways. I'm not them, obviously, but I have learned so much from watching that channel. I know that I've gone on and on and on. I've probably built them up, but I promise they're even better if you watch them. And so I would just say, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely check them out. They're amazing. And I know that I'm not like offending anybody in the yarn community by saying so, because they are objectively a really good show, and they're in my field, which is psychology. So, you know, it's kind of like a Kassi thing. But yeah, I really enjoy them. They're really cool, and they're also they play off of each other. They're really nice men too. They're really, really nice. You can tell that they're good people. They try their best not to use harsh language or anything like that. And they've got running jokes and stuff like that. They're just fun. So that said, I'm done with the questionnaire. That said, I am going to now tag some people. So for those of you with your community tabs open, make sure that you let these people know that they've been tagged by me, okay? So I am going to tag Creative Grandma. Creative Grandma is a great channel. She's got so many tutorials. I love making blankets, and she has got so many tutorials on different blanket stitches and stuff like that. So I am tagging Creative Grandma. I'm also tagging a knitter. Froggy Went a Knitting. I would really like it if Froggy Went a Knitting was to do this questionnaire. I'm also going to tag Linda Simpson. She is kind of, she's somewhat new to the yarn community, and it would be nice to hear from her. And the last person I'm tagging is Doris Rose Cottage Studios. So, you guys, I want you to answer these questions and let your viewers, and me especially me, know your answers to those questions. So again, Froggy Went a Knitting, Creative Grandma, Linda Simpson, and Doris Rose Cottage Studios. I love to hear your answers. That said, I hope you enjoyed this non-traditional video. Be sure to check my videos for giveaways. I have a couple going on right now. I have a really big one, and then I have a smaller one celebrating the 500 subscriber milestone, which is great. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, if you're interested in any kind of yarn content, tutorials, yarn unboxings, tips and stuff like that, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like this video, and share me with your friends if you think that I'm shareable. Alright guys, I will see you in a new video. Bye bye.